and it's had a lot of video and documents, and it's pretty much almost a film of when I was visiting Big 810 AM, where we're #1, by the way, on the radio up against Rush Limbaugh. So that's going to air tonight after the news. We were going to try to rush and get the whole Ron Paul speech up on the nightly news tonight, but I'd rather add documentation to everything he's saying, because everybody can put Ron Paul speeches up, and they're probably already being uploaded. That's fine. That's great. We're going to air it next Monday or Tuesday on the nightly news with articles and documents and clips backing up everything he's saying. I like to do that. There'll be some excerpts tonight, but on the news, but the full speech, the questions, the crowd, all of it, time-lapse photography, everything. A big extravaganza Monday or Tuesday. I would be able to again air it tonight if our crew wasn't so skeleton. That's why we're trying to hire more video editors, another camera person, and reporters. That takes money. That's why I promote products I believe in, like the Alex Jones pack, Rebound, Beyond Tangy Tangerine, all of it at InfoWarsTeam.com. You already get the best discounts on the products you're going to find anywhere there, and you can get free shipping if you sign up for the auto ship, and you can become a distributor and get wholesale discounts. InfoWarsTeam.com. But you not only get, from my scouring and research, the best vitamins and minerals out there with all the trace elements that other companies aren't adding. You also support us when you purchase at InfoWarsTeam.com, and you also support us when you get the high-quality, gravity-fed, top-of-the-line, Pro-Pure water filtration systems at InfoWars.com with promo code WATER. You get an additional 10% off the already lowest prices at Pro-Pure at InfoWars.com, and your purchase supports us. You buy the books, the videos, all of that. That's how you fund us getting the... I mean, I need 10 more reporters, quite frankly. I can't cover all this. I need your financial support. We'll be back with the big news on the guns.
You don't need me to tell you that
So we've got the big Ron Paul news coming up. And yes, the other big news of the day, CISPA passed in a rush vote, kind of like the Federal Reserve Act passed back in 1913. They rushed it through the House yesterday in the evening. CISPA let Congress know you will not let them trash the Fourth Amendment. And they've got inventors of the internet coming out. And no, I don't mean Al Gore. They've got top scientists, government people, former head of cybersecurity, all out. Scientists writing letters to Congress saying this ends the Fourth Amendment. This surveils everything in lifetime. They've already been doing it, is the point. And they say that. We've already been doing it. Like, that's okay. It's like Jeffrey Dahmer's like, well, you just caught me grabbing another 15-year-old off the street. I mean, I did it to 10 others. Somehow there's this idea that we've already been illegally, because it is illegal, spying on you without warrants, and now we just want to put it into law. And we want to put it into law, we can torture people. And we want to put it into law, we can take your bank account without due process and take your passport. I mean, it's all happening because they're sitting on top over 1,000 trillion in derivatives. And they know it can't ever be paid back. They know you don't owe it. They know it's the bankers. And they created it on purpose to sign us onto it. You notice Europe raised taxes, cut benefits, is now in a full-bore depression. I got stacks of news on it. And the bankers are like, oopsie, that's exactly what they wanted to do. You don't think they don't know when they passed carbon taxes last year in California and are now implementing over the next 3 years, 20+%, it was like 22% carbon taxes. And everyone is just fleeing as fast as they can. It's a gorgeous, great state. Beautiful. I love Central and Northern. I like San Diego. You know, down in the South. Beautiful. It's like Soviet Russia or something. They're giving kids shots without parental consent. 11-year-olds. They're taking 11-year-olds for abortions, and they tell parents, shut up. And California is the model for the country. That's why it's such good news the people there demand labeling of GMO, because it has been the bellwether. We can reverse that thanks to the work of Dr. Mercola and others. But my point is, CISPA is so much worse than even SOPA, and it makes my head spin. And, well, we've gone over it and over it. I mean, it does so many horrible things. It is unspeakable. Once again, Congress has ignored the will of the people. Yeah, the polls are over 9% against it. For weeks, it has been obvious that millions of Americans are steadfastly opposed to CISPA, the so-called cybersecurity legislation passed by the House last night that will allow the government to surveil Americans and deny them Fourth Amendment protection while on the internet, which is everything now. See, they get you addicted, then they take it away. Congressional leaders and members have come up with all kinds of lame excuses in order to push the bill through, including the absurd claim made by the House Majority Leader that CISPA will create jobs. Yeah, it makes everybody, at least the last version I read a week ago, they're always changing it. And we got to look into this. It makes anybody in IT who has over 100 customers get a federal certification. And the certification means you'll constantly be upgraded, go to training, and learn how to put equipment and snooper hubs into everything. And then they'll just come and raid whole networks saying you don't have the systems in place. You're like, oh, that won't happen. Really? In 1996, they had the Telecommunications Act saying, under law, via the regulations, a blank check law, that you had to have satellite tracker triangulation via cell towers down to 3 feet with cell phones, GPS, triangulator. The phone itself is not GPS, it's GPS triangulator. And it had to be able to be accessed remotely and turned on even when off to where you can't tell to listen to you. And now all the tech has it. The CIA director admits it. The digital cable boxes, the computers, everything. And they admit it. The smart boxes aren't just smart meters. They're admittedly designed to dial in and grab all your wireless transmissions. It was in the Washington Post last year. They're going to start having wireless service on top of the Postal Service vehicles, but it'll double as a snooper grabbing all the data. In this bill, they're saying they can pass around your medical stuff, your insurance, your everything. It says that they can spy on Congress and give their tax returns to any agency they want and listen to them. That's in the bill. That was, I mean, it's the bureaucracy run by foreign banks engaged in a coup d'etat. And the average congressperson is blackmailed or so corrupt they don't care. Those that do are the minority. And here it is. Get the article by Kurt. We can still beat it in the Senate. And I know Rand Paul's going to try to block it, but they even break Senate rules to try to stop him from blocking it. Get it out. It's at Infowars.com. CISPA, let Congress know you will not let them trash the Fourth Amendment. At least this stuff's getting out in the open, though, now. At least it's out in the open more and more.
We're on the march.
I'm Alex Jones. I am your host. I've already covered some of the news I'm going to get to. I'm going to get to more of it now. But I want to give the toll-free number out for first-time callers. I do this a few days a week so that brand-new listeners have a chance to be involved on the show, and also long-time listeners. A lot of times, hey, I've been listening 15, 16 years, never been able to get through. And then we get to hear some, great new voices on the show. So first-time calls, at least in the first few rounds of the phone system being filled up. The toll-free number to join us is 800-259-9231. 800-259-9231. Okay, let me get into some of the other news that we have here in front of us, including news of the weird. That's coming up here in just a moment. There is some good news that I mentioned at the very start. Labor Department withdraws farm child labor rule after Daily Caller, drudgereport.com, and also Infowars.com made it go viral. You made it go viral. But they're saying they're going to suspend the rule for now, their rule. And that brings me back into our top story at Infowars.com before I get to news of the weird to show the point that we are definitely seeing the twilight zoning of the planet Earth. City wants executive order to ban concealed carry in Tampa during RNC. And I already went over at the start of the show, but if you just tuned in, this is very important. The first executive orders were for the linen and plates for Mrs. Washington with the money Congress gave them to set up the presidential facility and to have heads of state and others and ambassadors in for dinner. The reason we have a Congress and the reason we have state legislatures is because they make the laws, and there's a check and balance of the courts saying whether it's constitutional or not. And then you have the president or the governor that executes the will of the legislature, which is the will of the people. The will of the Congress, that is the will of the people in the Constitution. We form this government. We form this union. We, the people, create this system. And if it ever becomes destructive of our liberties, it is not just our right. It is our duty to overthrow it. That's called treason. And they arrested the Hatari militia for talking about that. It's directly out of the Declaration of Independence. So if you want to arrest that, go ahead and lock up. Of course, they've had news in the Philadelphia Daily News. Said, and the BBC had the headline too, is the Declaration of Independence illegal? And they had the feds and people in there and lawyers saying, yeah, it's terrorism. You're saying if a government's oppressive, you got a right to overthrow it? Man, that's terrorism. And now you notice Obama said last week, war on terror is over. Al-Qaeda's our friend. It means the banker's friend, overthrowing all these countries. But the TSA is in Boston and Houston and Dallas. I'm just mentioning around where I live. And I heard they're coming to Austin. Just like they had the Army a month ago out at the Kite Festival. I almost pulled in the Kite Festival. I'm driving along with Dave Mustaine, my wife, and his wife. And we're like, oh, there's the Kite Festival. What's it neat? You want to go there? I'm like, yeah, we may not have time. And little did I know, if I'd have pulled over there, it was the National Guard searching people. Woo, it's fun, isn't it? I don't have to travel anymore to drive up to a checkpoint or, you know, it's a lot of fun, isn't it? Black boxes in the car, tracking his face scanning cameras everywhere. Government caught shipping narcotics in almost every day. And meanwhile, you got an executive order. Isn't that just precious? Just have an executive order. Isn't that just special? Isn't that just cute? Isn't that just wonderful and sweet to have an executive order in the new America? An executive order not by the president to shut down power plants that aren't paying any money and aren't part of their mafia system. No, not the executive orders to launch wars in Libya. And even when Congress says they don't have approval and it's totally illegal. Or executive orders, or just go become the head of the UN Security Council, violating Article 1, Section 9, totally illegal. You know, he doesn't even need executive orders now. He just says, I'm writing a letter saying the UN gave me authority. And it just gets worse and worse, each new president that gets in. No, now we have Tampa going to the governor and saying, we want you to ban the hundreds of thousands of people in the state of Florida that have a concealed carry, and we want you to ban them from being inside Tampa with their firearms. Now, there's a big problem there. You know how they create a concealed carry? See, they can't legally and lawfully, they've got some city laws that do this, but they're unconstitutional, that's why they're getting overturned, tell you that you can't carry a shotgun or handgun openly. Because in ancient times, everyone could carry a weapon openly if they were a free man, if you weren't a slave. You know, back in ancient Europe where the serfs were basically slaves. Weren't any black slaves, they were just white slaves. Never hear about that in the media, though, because that kind of kills the whole race war thing. If people learn that most whites that came to this country were indentured servants, signed on for 7 to 10 years slave tenures. In many cases, were even worse off than the black slaves. Look it up, because they weren't even property. They were just chattel. But the issue here is that you could always have armaments open because a free man who was not a criminal had their arms open. Swords, muskets, whatever the case was. What's always been illegal under common law is concealed